my name is Miss Haverstick, and today we are going to read the book, My Name is Gabito. I'm so excited for you to read this story with me about a little boy who is not afraid to dream big and use his creativity. As you read this book with me, think about your own dreams and creativity and things that you like to do with your imagination. Now, this book is super special for a lot of reasons, and one of them is that it's bilingual. That means it's written in 2 different languages. One of the languages is English, and one is Spanish. We are going to read it in English today, but you will see that the words are also written in Spanish, which is so awesome. Let's get started. My name is Gabito. Can you imagine a shipwrecked sailor living on air in seaweed for 8 days? Can you imagine a trail of yellow butterflies fluttering their wings to songs of love? Can you imagine gold and silver fish swimming in air? Go ahead, close your eyes and imagine all of that. Can you use your imagination? Picture it in your head. Once, there was a little boy named Gabito who could. This little boy would become one of the greatest storytellers of all time. Gabito was born in the magical town of Arquetaca, Colombia, and his imagination was just as big and great and wild as the thickest jungles and highest mountaintops of Colombia. There's Gabito, using his big imagination. To Gabito, the world was a magical place. He grew up in a little house with his big family, and according to his grandmother, a strange and mysterious ghost. Sometimes, little Gabito would imagine the ghost lady gliding through his house and rocking in the empty rocking chair in the family room, back and forth, back and forth. Gabito never sat in that rocking chair because he didn't want to squish the ghost. Gabito's imagination was big. There's the rocking chair he imagines the ghost sitting in. Gabito also lived with an amazing 100-year-old talking parrot named Lorenzo the Magnificent. Lorenzo would make up stories of his own, just like Gabito. And sometimes his stories turned out to be true. One day, Gabito listened to Lorenzo tell a story about a big, angry, but bull getting loose. Imagine his surprise when a big, angry bull ran right through his kitchen. Maybe, thought Gabito, Lorenzo the Magnificent had magical powers. Gabito's imagination was wild. Do you think a bull actually ran through Gabito's kitchen? Or do you think that was Gabito's imagination? Gabito's favorite person in the whole world was his grandfather Nicolas, who had a giant dictionary filled with many amazing words. From this dictionary, Gabito learned that magic is not just for witches, that gypsies are wanderers with a taste for adventure, and that words can be big and great and wild too. The more words Gabito learned, the more stories he told. Wow, it looks like Gabito's reading a book, the dictionary right here, and as he's reading it, here's what he's imagining. He can use words and his imagination together. Each day after breakfast, Gabito and his grandfather put on matching Scotch plaid hats and walked through the town of Arquetaca, holding hands and smelling the jasmine flowers. The 2 of them would walk happily towards the cafe, where they met his grandfather's friends for lunch. His grandfather always let him dip his hands into the pitcher of water and lift out the cold and crunchy ice cubes. The more people Gabito met, the more stories he told. Sometimes Gabito and his grandfather walked past the big banana plantation at the edge of town. He saw how hard the people in the banana plantation worked picking fruit. Even to little Gabito, it didn't seem fair that those who worked so hard were so poor, and that this made Gabito sad. He tried to imagine a world where no one was poor and where everyone could sit with their grandfathers under the shade of a tree, holding hands and crunching ice. The more things Gabito saw, the more stories he told. I think Gabito has a beautiful imagination. It's so good to imagine a world where everything is fair and everyone is happy. Under the hot sun, Gabito grew tall. He learned that ghosts were real, that parrots sometimes speak the truth, and that not everything, even in this magical world, is fair. Most importantly, he learned that he loved stories. He loved hearing them, reading them, telling them, and writing them. He loved creating worlds where the impossible was possible, where dreams were true, and where people could float and fly. The more stories he wrote, the more he wanted to write. Do you ever feel like Gabito? Do you love imagining big, great things? Do you like to use your imagination to create really beautiful pieces of art or maybe stories just like Gabito? I just love seeing all the great things Gabito does with his imagination. When Gabito grew up, he wrote the most exciting stories in the world. His stories were magical and amazing, but just as real as you or me. Can you imagine what kinds of stories Gabito told? Close your eyes and see. Go ahead, close your eyes. Imagine with me, what stories did Gabito tell? Wow. Can you imagine a man with enormous wings falling from the sky? Can you imagine the most beautiful woman in the world? Maybe she looks just like this picture. Can you imagine flying through the air on a magic carpet? Oh, that would be so fun. If these stories sound magical, it's because they are. And they were written by a boy called Gabito, who grew up to be Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the great storyteller, read by millions, loved by all. But Gabito never forgot the parrot and the bull, the jasmine flowers and the banana workers, and the dictionary full of wonderful words. People on all 7 continents read his stories and loved them and discovered just how magical and big and great and wild the world can be. There's Gabito, all grown up, writing stories. Wow! What a cool story about a real boy who grew up and he used his big, great imagination to write so many special stories for other kids to enjoy. What was your favorite part about our story, My Name is Gabito? Did you like the beautiful pictures that showed Gabito's big imagination? Did you like learning how we can use our own imagination to create really beautiful things and share with others? There's so much that I love about this story, and I hope that there's a lot that you love too. Thanks for reading with me.